Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
I'm sorry. Here I am. Well, here I am. I can't account for the rest of you, but here I am. And it is the day after the long-awaited decision by the grand jury in St. Louis County, and we all know what that decision was now, not that we didn't suspect that decision, and we know now what has happened after that decision came out. It's probably fortunate that today is a Tuesday and our usual day to talk to my sister Susan, who lives quite near Clayton, where the demonstrations are going on today, I guess, and close to Ferguson as well. Suz, hi. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you sounded very far away. All right, so I don't know what to say. I have a lot of questions, and maybe you guys do too. What's the general mood in your neck of the woods today?
Well, the television stations that are usually all weather all the time are now all this all the time.
Which you think? Wait. Let me just interrupt. Do you think that is helpful, or it creates more trouble?
I think to a certain extent right now it's helpful in that it's serving to advise people that where things are bad, it's extremely localized, and to keep, everybody calm and, because the level of hysteria that I've been feeling prior to the announcement sort of feels like, a big pimple that got popped last night, and I'm hoping that things will calm down a little bit. There's still protests today, but they're all peaceful. They're just people marching.
Yeah.
But there's a whole swath of Ferguson that was burned down last night, and it's sad because these are the mom and pop businesses
I know.
that service the community. They just went after their own, and it's crazy.
Better they should have burned down buildings in Clayton.
They wouldn't have been able to get near them.
Ha! Does that suggest that the police could have protected those businesses?
I have to say that
in
the
Ferguson?
Overwhelming feeling that I'm getting from all of what I'm hearing around here is that people didn't understand. If the National Guard had been called in,
yes,
which it had,
right?
Where was everybody? Why was what was clearly going to be ground zero not protected? And to the extent that people protected their own property, it was fine. I mean, there was a group of guys that had businesses in a strip shopping center, and they just armed themselves and ringed the parking lot, and they said there were about 100 cars that came by, during the night to scope out whether they should go after them, and they didn't.
So, I got to tell you, I haven't had an opportunity to read all of the testimony that the prosecutor did put out publicly, the testimony that the grand jury used to reach its decision. But I've already been struck by little pieces of it that I've read, and I have to say that this St. Louis County prosecutor, while very well-spoken and in his remarks and calm, and my sense of the job of a prosecutor is that the victim in this case was Michael Brown. The prosecutor in this grand jury was to determine whether there was reason to believe that this should go to trial. And it seems like, and I've heard other people say this, that he seemed almost more like Darren Wilson, the police officer's defense attorney, than a prosecutor.
Well, that's been the complaint. But let me interject a few things here. First of all, he wasn't the guy in front of the grand jury. It was two deputy prosecutors, both with one with over 20 years experience, one with over 15 years experience, one black, one white. Okay.
Both working for him, though.
Both working for him, but he wasn't in. They would report to
right.
him.
He was not in
the room.
Right. I understand.
And again, the job is simply to present enough evidence to the jury to figure out whether there is sufficient evidence to bring charges. And the jury was given 5 different things, 5 different forms of homicide to look at, from first-degree murder all the way down to involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
And here's the thing: when you take the time, I, like you, my knee-jerk reaction is, why not have a trial?
Right.
Why not put the guy out there in front of a jury and let it all come out and let people hear the testimony and let it be done? But the fact of the matter is, with the way the Missouri law works and the leeway given to a police officer, the standard, he just has to be sort of have probable cause to worry about his safety. Probable cause is like the lowest of the burden.
So this is specifically Missouri state law.
This is Missouri state law.
Which
what constitutes appropriate force by a
police officer. And you're saying that under Missouri law, all that police officer has to do is feel what?
Have probable cause to feel that he is in danger, and the testimony, what is in the testimony is that, and it's pretty much agreed on by more than one witness, and again, African American witnesses at the time who saw that Michael Brown did in fact punch this guy twice in the face before anything else had happened. And, it took off from there. From there on, you've got 60 seconds and it's all over.
Well, the part I don't get is why the kid's dead.
I don't get why the kid's dead either. Kid's dead because this guy doesn't like to carry a taser because there's only one in the department. And it's bulky, and he can't usually get it out of his pocket.
And he was scared out of his mind.
This big guy had just punched him twice in the face.
And tried to get his gun. And
right.
Okay, that's the story. And but he did not have to kill him. And this classic thing about when a grand jury sits, they almost every case that's brought before them goes to trial. I mean, it's like 98% of all cases brought before grand juries all over the place in this country, they go to trial.
Well, and the other thing is that this grand jury essentially had a trial.
Well, that's not the way it's supposed to work.
No, they had a trial to determine, I think basically what happened here is they decided that they couldn't convict, not that they couldn't charge. And I do think that they were almost justified in their confusion by the fact that they were given all this evidence to consider. So in that case, when they're given all the evidence there is to consider, then by virtue of what they know, they are determining whether they can convict, not whether they can charge. I mean, the two things just get conflated in their heads.
Well, let me just say this. If they had charged Darren Wilson with, it wouldn't be first degree or second degree,
No, it would have
but
been involuntary.
Involuntary, probably the lowest count. If
I think that's the only one that had any chance of ever
right,
standing.
okay, so if they had, and it had gone to trial, the odds that he would have been convicted are not good at all.
Not good.
Because in this country, and it's just the truth, it ain't just St. Louis County, it ain't just Allegheny County, jurors do not convict cops.
Well, I disagree with you. Jurors sure do convict cops.
Rarely. Suz.
Well, but they do.
Rarely. Especially for killing black
But part of
men.
the reasons that they don't, you have to understand, part of the reason that they don't is because there is a different standard for police officers. And if you step back for a second, as much as we don't want to argue this particular case, and as much as we decry the fact that there is an unusually large number of young black men in proportion to anybody else that die at the hands of the police, that said, you also have to empower police to go in places where no one else wants to go. And if you don't protect them and give them some space to keep themselves safe, no one's going to do the job. I mean, you know, you have to step back and balance the social interest. And I'm not saying that we sacrifice black men with impunity. I'm not. But we've got to figure out a way to handle this that stops before that cop reaches for his gun. And that's a whole lot of training and re-education up front.
A question by email. Whatever happened to police shooting someone to incapacitate them? Shoot them in the leg. If they feel they need to shoot someone to stop them, seems it doesn't matter if it's Ferguson, New York, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Cops just shoot to kill.
Well, I can answer that.
They are. They're taught to shoot to kill.
The answer is they are taught to shoot to kill.
Taught.
And that this is an urban myth that they are taught to incapacitate.
No, they're
They
taught
are
to
not.
shoot to kill,
If
and that
they're
is
shooting
correct.
in the first place, it's because theoretically they're being shot at, or they are in danger, or somebody's coming at them with lethal force. So no, they don't shoot to maim, and this is straight out of our police chief's mouth. He just said, "Let's clear this up."
Well, you know, maybe we need to look at that a little bit.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, just stop and think. Okay. Things just pile up and pile up. The totally innocent black man shot dead by a rookie cop in a stairwell in New York City. Total innocent. He just happened to be a black male coming down a scary hallway. Okay, there's one. The 12-year-old black boy at the playground in Cleveland. He's dead. There are so many of these cases. So many. And that Michael Brown just happened to be not the greatest poster boy for this outrageous epidemic of cops killing black men is too bad. Trayvon Martin would have been a better one, I'm sure. But let's not kid ourselves. Something is really, really wrong.
No, it's really, really wrong. But let me again point out that we are living in an increasingly armed society where everybody gets to stand their ground now. And you know, if you and I can kill somebody and not get charged, why are we holding the police to an even higher standard?
Well, not all states have that absurd standard that your state has and that Florida has. If you're feeling slightly nervous, go ahead and kill whoever's making you nervous. That's essentially the stand your ground law.
That is the stand
Especially
your
if
ground.
that's a black. I said, Susan, when the first one passed in Florida, I said, this shouldn't be called stand your ground. This should be called shoot black men at will law.
Right.
And let's not kid ourselves.
No, let's not. But let's also remind ourselves that we've now armed a whole, everybody is free to arm themselves, and now we're asking the cops to go out and keep the order. And by the way, you shouldn't be I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Well,
I don't think Michael Brown should be dead either. I don't care what he did. Well, I do. I don't like that he was smashing this guy's face in, and I don't know. I find that so hard to believe, but all the evidence and all the witnesses say that's what happened.
He acted, Brown, if we're to believe what the evidence gathered by the grand jury showed, he acted totally irrationally and with, stupidly, almost asking to get shot. I mean, that's the part that he was in obviously an aggressive mood because he had pushed that store owner, and taken his cigars. And when the cop rolls up and says, hey, how about getting on the sidewalk? And he says, fuck you. So there was an aggression there. Who knows, why, where, what. But God, none of that should result in a death penalty. It's just not a death penalty.
Dead. I totally agree with you. But all of these things are different from the legal question of whether to indict. And I knew the second that they were presenting all this evidence that this is what was going to happen.
Right.
And they were just covering their asses. They knew that they could just read the way the law reads and know that there wasn't an indictment forthcoming.
Okay. I just, for those who didn't know about this, I'm sure Susan does, in our local paper today, our columnist Tony Norman, talking about this, talks about a rather ironic moment in Ferguson that happened, I'm not sure exactly when. This is the death of Becca Campbell, a 26-year-old white woman who last Friday shot herself in the head with the gun that she and her boyfriend had bought to defend themselves against the rioters. And how this happened was she was reportedly waving the gun in their car and shouting about how she was ready for Ferguson when her boyfriend, who was driving, rear-ended another car, causing her to accidentally shoot herself in the head. Now that's almost, poetic, almost humorous, almost ironic. Sidebar. I mean, come on. Yeah, we'll get you, you Ferguson black riot.
That's the thing that you don't understand, that we were going to get riots one way or the other.
Well,
if
sure.
it went the other way, the Ku Klux Klan was poisoned.
Okay. We got a call, Suze. Let me get a call in. Hello? Hello?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, so there's a no, Michael Brown did not deserve to be killed.
No.
But he wasn't killed because he told the cops, fuck you. He was killed because of a long line of cause and effect that has taken place in this country.
Right.
Much of which has many shades of gray and is very subtle, and a large portion of which is just outright, we'll call it racism. But as with so many situations in this country, sides are gonna break off into their two separate camps, and the gray is gonna be forgotten about. And that's what upsets me the most about this whole deal. There are. Michael Brown was in a you said a bad mood that day. Sure. Okay. So yeah, he had a why did he have a chip on his shoulder? Well, let's look at we'll say 150 years, 200 years prior of things that added up to him having a chip on his shoulder that day. And if anybody would say that's not why he had a chip on his shoulder that day, I would say they're full of shit because of it. But the fact remains that, as so many people have said, I've heard so many African-American parents say, they teach their children that they have to be extra careful.
Right.
And, he forgot that. And let's not forget that police officer is only a human being.
Right.
That's when
he was scared.
He was terrified. He was absolutely terrified. They are taught to shoot to kill. If you're going to shoot your weapon, you shoot your weapon to kill. You don't unholster it unless you're going to use it to kill. So there are a myriad of cause and effects that have added up to put us to the point we're at.
But the thing that makes you crazy is that we have gone through this same story how many times in the last 20, 25, since I've been doing talk radio. I mean, I can think of a million instances that involve dead black men and police and anger in the community and when will this end? And it never does. We always think, but this is the moment where maybe we can finally talk. Well, this is the moment, and then nothing happens. It never happens.
And it's because we forget those shades of gray. We don't
recognize them.
Camps.
Yeah,
people go. They pick one side that is not totally informed and not totally true, and the other side picks another side, and therefore. Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
And that's really what this really should be. Well, this really should be. This should be the moment that this is all talked about and learned about and everything. But unfortunately, I'm sure there are a large group of people out there in this country that are cheering because the officer got off, and there's even an probably even bigger group that are saying, "Oh, there we go again. It's happening again," and aren't seeing that middle ground. So, okay.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah, right. Oh, Lord.
Well, I mean, it's no different than, when we tried to get the gun control passed after a bunch of little elementary school children got blown away.
Yeah, you thought for sure, right? Well, this was the moment.
If not this, when?
Yeah,
well, exactly.
Nothing happened. In fact, a whole bunch of states loosened.
Right. In fact, it got worse.
So this country is just incapable, I guess, of
teachable moments.
We can't do it. We've dumbed down to the point of total inability to save ourselves. I found unsettling last night in the coverage when the president was speaking. And I was watching CNN. I don't know what other station. Did other networks break away and cover this stuff live, or do they stay with their programming?
I can't tell you because here everything was.
Oh, yeah.
Preempted.
Okay, so I went to CNN. I doubt if they did. They had The Voice on. They had Dancing with the Stars. I don't think they're going to, So Obama makes a speech, saying all the things, we should say. You can protest, don't get out of hand, blah, blah, blah. We understand. It's time to come together. And as he's speaking, CNN pulls his shot back to half the screen, a split screen. And on the other side now, they are showing the incipient rioting. And so while the president is saying, be good, stop, they're showing nobody's listening to him and they're doing this. I found that troubling. Let's take a call. Come back to this. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, Clarence from Canonsburg.
Yes,
Good morning.
Sir. Good morning, Clarence.
Hello, Susan.
Hi.
I found it interesting this morning when I woke up and got onto my Facebook page. All the humans who describe themselves as black or liberal were really upset with Barack Obama because he wasn't angry enough and upset enough. And all the humans who describe themselves as white or conservative were saying how angry Barack Obama was in his response.
Poor guy. Jeez.
And when I see that, I'm like, he did the right thing.
He must have. He must have split the baby right down the middle.
He split it down the middle. Yeah, and like, just telling people, stop projecting yourselves onto Barack.
Jeez.
You know, the way you want him to. And this is one of those things where this is when I get all Spockish and talk about people emotions. You know, when people are trying to solve these things emotionally, it can't be done. Keeping your emotions in check is what has to be done, and look at it scientifically. The guy before me, talked about the legacy and how we got here.
Yeah.
And how we got to this point. But the problem is, people can say that, but then they do nothing to change it. No, here's how we got here. So what should we do about it?
Well, you can't change the past. You can't. I'm sorry, my voice has just decided to take it.
What you have to do is figure out a way to empower people to get themselves out of the mindset that says that you can't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we continue to fall down. If you're living here while this is happening, one of the things that happens is that the people that are really out there trying to do something, who are protesting and saying this is what this is really about, are simply undermined by the, criminal element that decides that this is a great cover to loot and steal and burn down their own community.
Let me say something here too, even though I sound like I do. What I was saying about when the president was, put on a split screen, so that while he was actually saying, "Don't riot," and he was actually saying to the media at one point, "Don't do the easy thing and show the few people who are doing the wrong thing. Show us the community leaders, show us the people who are actively trying to get something positive to come out of this." And I thought, that was good, because he was calling on the media to do the right thing, just as it was exhibiting how it does not do the right thing.
So 24-hour news cycle happening here. And as I said, to a certain extent it helps because it calms people down and lets them know what's not happening. For the most part, there are protests all over town. For the most part, they are totally peaceful.
Right.
There's a few crumb bums that simply take advantage of the situation. And mostly, as I said, people are upset that if you were going to call out the National Guard, what the hell were they doing?
Where were they?
Where were they?
And this is when my thought is that we need better science education. Now, how do I make that connection?
How?
I don't care what the media does. If you have a scientific education, you're skeptical about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you don't just instantly buy what you see on TV or what you hear in the media. You're skeptical about it. And then you do your little research and, whatever you have to do to find out more information. But people are willy-nilly jumping on an emotional bandwagon. And, do I think it's going to happen? No. But I think that's one of the main problems is people aren't skeptical about what they read, hear, and see. They just jump on to whatever they feel is the right way to feel, based on their own, preconceived notions.
Yeah.
But the sad part is that each time that we have an opportunity, and each time we don't move even a little bit, teeny little bit forward,
right,
the net effect is that you fall even further behind because of the emotional impact.
Another squandered moment.
Another squandered moment. See, nothing can make. If not this, what? Nothing will change, and people's hearts get even more hardened. It's upsetting to me, and I do see a whole community that, by and large, wants to do this right, wants to figure it out, wants to move ahead.
But they're not given the media attention that the jerks in their stupid Guy Fawkes masks and all the other troublemakers get.
Not that I'm defending the media. And if they did get the media attention, and they're probably like somewhere on PBS or something, people don't watch it. It's not exciting.
No.
You almost need a conspiracy of media to focus on the good.
To try to be part of a positive coming out of this. Yeah. Because media will always go to where the most compelling video is. Mm-hmm. And the most compelling video is obviously people rioting. Yeah. When, in fact, the majority of that community did not riot. The vast majority did not riot.
No, and the ones that were but again, it's not as interesting to watch a bunch of diverse people marching quietly, chanting slogans. That's good TV for like
2 seconds. Yeah, or people sitting around a table talking to each other and trying to reach each other. Yeah, media I find just
although I will
repellent.
Say that the shutting down of Highway 44 last night was pretty compelling.
What was that about?
And they a bunch of protesters. It's a major artery on the south side of town. They closed down that highway, and there was a semi in the middle of it, and there was an SUV in the middle of it, and they just sat there, and they sat there for about a half an hour, and they put out cones and everything, and then when they were done, they picked up the cones and they left.
So you're saying that made a statement, but without...
It was effective. A couple of people were inconvenienced for about a half an hour, but it was an eye-catching, sort of compelling protest that allowed them then to get their message.
Well, I didn't see that.
It's like the kids standing in front of the tank at Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Hey, Clarence, thank you. I've got some emails here to share. I am told, Lynn, they did interrupt Dancing with the Stars for the verdict. Whoa. Shocking. And Dorothea writes, as I watched the activity in Ferguson last night, it occurred to me that we can probably throw some of the blame on the media. For weeks, months, the media has stoked this fire, bringing people to a level of frenzy. It's too easy to blame the media these days for everything, but I have to blame them for raising this one up a notch. I have little doubt that is true.
Well, of course it's true.
But Susan, I thought that the timing of the release of also was ratcheting it up. They knew they had that verdict. What the hell? They waited around till darkness fell.
They wanted everybody to get home from work.
Well, but it's in the dark that the bad guys do their stuff.
Of course.
So they wait. That should have been announced in the day.
Listen, I think it should have been announced weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this waiting just served to, make people anxious, give people time to figure out how disruptive they actually want it to be. I mean, if you want to make sure that things don't have time to boil over, then swift justice.
Yeah.
Which is, basically what our law calls for anyway.
So, there is a federal investigation that is still going on. That one
There's always a civil rights issue.
That is led by the Attorney General, Eric Holder. And it's much broader. And I don't know. This will take months and months and months. It could ultimately lead to some kind of positive. Although I think...
all I can say is if in these little municipalities, these little fiefdoms where these cops, roam unfettered, they've had their chains yanked a little bit.
A little bit, but they need them yanked a little bit more.
They need them yanked a lot more, but suddenly people are looking into how much these municipalities fund their budgets with these traffic things, and that when these people can't pay these traffic fines. They then get a additional fine for failure to appear, and eventually they land up in jail for a $10, 10 mile an hour over the speed limit charge.
And you want to clarify that 90-some% of the people who are stopped for these violations are African Americans.
Right, and I absolutely just want to flat out state that there is clearly on the book something called driving while black in my community.
Right.
And you know which communities are famous for it and which aren't. I live right smack and dab on the border of two of them, and if my African American friends approach me from the north, they won't get stopped. If they approach me from the south, the chances are 1 in 2 that they will be stopped.
And then, as you said, if they can't make it to a hearing or something.
Right. If they don't pay up, there's a warrant issued for a failure to appear, and a lot of them end up in jail. So already
because they don't have the money in the first place, so they end up. So then they end up in jail. Now, isn't this?
So now we have a modern debtor's prison.
Right. This is true.
And so one of the things that's already happened is that the municipalities have gotten rid of these failure to appear things and worked out other things and suggested that, maybe community service, if you give a fine that you can't pay, there has to be something other than jail.
Well.
So anyway, there's been a little house cleaning as a result. But whether the attention, that's where the attention needs to be paid to the everyday lives of everyday people living in this community,
right,
and their right to live as free as I do.
Oh dear. So, what is the feeling of what tonight will bring?
It depends on who you talk to. I mean, if you talk to some people I know, they're still waiting for ISIS.
What? What?
Oh no, there's enough hysteria in this community that some people were even suggesting that ISIS would use this as a cover to come in and attack.
Oh dear God in heaven! Are these people?
White and scared? Yes.
White and scared.
Yes.
You said you posted something the other day on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch website. What did you say because the hysteria was getting...
I was out of town for a while, and that when I came back, the level of mass hysteria was palpable, and everybody should stand down and put on their big boy panties, pull that brown paper bag out of their rear pocket, and start breathing in and out. In and out.
So the white population of St. Louis County had whipped themselves, while you were here in Pittsburgh, into
a total frenzy. You can't go on the highway. You can't, because what if it's, and then you can't go this way because and you just have to stay. I'm going, how many thousands of people do you think are coming in to shut down every single roadway in this town? This is nonsense.
But so a lot of these white people ran out and got guns, I bet. I bet they did.
They got guns. They brought in their groceries for a prolonged time in their cellars.
Well, I know that there was. You said that some people were saying that that our mothers shouldn't be flying in on this day.
And that my children shouldn't come for Thanksgiving, right?
So, Susan,
I said, excuse me, why?
No.
Well, how are they going to get here? I said, they're going to drive.
There's
highway. Yes.
Okay, so this brings us to, I think this was also a letter someone wrote to your paper, which I just loved, and it is so damn true because I've been squawking about this for years, about how Americans have become so unbelievably craven. We run screaming and panicking at the slightest. Somebody raises an eyebrow and we're freaked. And of course, this has been manipulated by Republicans, Fox News, because they like people to be scared,
terrified all the time.
Right. And so you had told me, I think, that someone had written a letter to the editor saying, well, it's quite clear that we now really do need to change our national anthem, at least the last few words.
The home of the brave.
And the home of the brave.
Right.
Because this is no longer anything approaching the home of the brave, the home of the knocking knees, quivering, timid, terrified. That's who we are. Easily manipulated into such panic and irrational behavior.
Well, and let
the
me tell
home
you,
of the
it's
brave.
Really, it's affecting people's lives. I mean, our own mother couldn't get her manicure done yesterday afternoon because they closed the shopping center.
Why, I say, when our old mother can't get her manicure, what has happened to this?
The National Guard.
God dang it! You don't think there's...
I know it's not funny, but I mean...
See, there's white victims here, too, in all of this. Old white ladies who couldn't get their manicures done. Well, can she get it done today?
Yeah. Theoretically, I think things are open. Everything looks very normal, although they've closed, all the schools are closed. Which, again, I would suggest that the safest place for children is in school.
Always.
And why you would want to just put, especially with the high schoolers, you're just giving, I don't know what you would have done in your day, but I know what I would have done.
Would have gone right down to a demonstration.
To the local protest.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing if they ever find out who torched a lot of those businesses, if those were Ferguson residents.
Oh, they probably not. The people that torch that stuff are people. I just call them crooks.
Carpetbagging
crooks.
Crooks.
What they're doing is illegal. What they're doing is hurting a community that doesn't want to be hurt.
That's already hurt.
That's
badly.
Already hurt. So those people belong in jail. There's no possible excuse or explanation, and if they aren't guarding all those businesses from now on, this community is going to get furious. I mean, no, we've been trying very hard to allow people to say what most people think needs to be said, but no, you got to stop with you can't be using it as an excuse to rob and steal and destroy.
Right, exactly. Oh dear.
And again, it's that they aren't doing it in any place that, except to hurt people, the smallest of the people. That's
always who gets hurt. You betcha. So, I don't know. It just seems like everything this thing from beginning to end was handled in a hapless manner. And I know for the family of Michael Brown, they still have... a civil suit that they can bring against the Ferguson police, but
that's very difficult.
Even a civil suit, it's easier
even
than the criminal
because his legal liability still has that same lax test.
The same what?
Lax test.
Even
in a civil suit.
In a civil suit in Missouri. You are.
It wouldn't. The civil. He can only be held to the standard of behavior, to the lowest standard of behavior that he was required to exercise. So if he is given that wide legally, that wide of a discretion in how he behaves, that's the standard, civil or criminal. The civil standard doesn't rise to a higher level.
Henry writes, I'm still trying to decide how I feel about this verdict. But ultimately, I'm going to have to trust that grand jury. I'm going to have to trust that they saw all of the evidence and reasonable people came to a reasonable conclusion. If I lose my faith in due process, then I have nothing. Does it fail us sometimes? Yes, but mostly I think it does not. Until last night, I wanted to blame the officer, but this morning, I don't know that I can do that anymore. Well, you heard...
that's the problem with having facts.
You heard more facts than you had heard before. And you did hear that witnesses that... See, here's media again, mucking up our heads. You know, Michael Brown's body still hadn't been collected from the road, and CNN and the others were interviewing eyewitnesses. And so we were hearing already testimony from people coming forward who later recanted. Other people who testified refused to talk, didn't say boo to Anderson Cooper. They just called the authorities and said, I have something to say. We hadn't been privy to any of that. Also, it was so clear that here's how media screw things up. Because they start interviewing these people that say they're witnesses, and then somebody else interviews them again, and then they're on someone's show over here, and the prosecutor's office goes and takes every piece of verbiage that came out of that eyewitness's mouth and sees that they contradict themselves here, they contradicted themselves there, here, over here, and you totally destroy that eyewitness because they've been yapping, right?
Yeah.
Now, it might not mean...
wondrous thing.
Yeah, well, but that's media screwing with our heads
and with the process
and with the eyewitnesses' heads, because you get to be a celebrity. Maybe you did see something, but after a while, you maybe embellish the story a little. Who knows? People are people. And now we get all this stuff gets tried in this public mob that is 24/7 news gathering. And I don't know. I blah, 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 blah. Got nothing left to say. Is anything else happening in the world?
I looked for something else. I couldn't find anything else.
You couldn't?
Certainly, on as far as I can tell, I mean, we finally, last night I turned on PBS to see what was what else was happening in the world, and all they were reporting on was Ferguson.
Jesus. Even PBS?
Even PBS. I mean,
was all Ferguson all the time.
Right. It's just sad. I mean, these businesses are boarded up here, and they have, in an apology, they say, why? Because we need our jobs. That's what's written on the boarded up front of the store, an apology that they boarded, but that's why.
Unbelievable. Well, I know there's other news. What other news is there? But you're right. I pretty much was all Ferguson all night and all morning.
Hagel was replaced.
Well, toodaloo. I never got off on Hagel myself. I don't care. He seemed dim to me. I mean, do you remember his nomination his nomination hearings? You what?
I liked Gates. I mean, not as in I'd like
Gates.
to go to a party with him, but I felt like
he was competent. You felt
he was a man of integrity,
right,
and smarts, and okay, go ahead, do the job.
Right. I had that feeling about Gates too, but this guy, he actually seemed stupid during his hearings. I mean, I was freaked out by how stupid he sounded. Like he couldn't like, and he had a pretty friendly hearing because he was a fellow senator, and they don't rake you over the coals. And he just sounded so halting and he made a bunch of factual errors that the White House had to like run around. He never recovered in my head from those hearings. I was blown away by what appeared to be incompetence to communicate. But I don't know. So maybe Obama's going to, in these last 2 years, be a little more, fuck you, here's what I'm going to do. I think he might be getting into that mindset.
It sure looks like that's what he's going to do.
Well, I say go for it. What the heck?
What the heck is right?
Gosh. He looks so skinny to me. Is he losing weight?
Old.
Is he losing weight?
Yeah, I think so. I think this presidency stuff is not good for one.
Well, no, it's not, but then they do live a long time.
Well, it's like hitting your head against the wall. Once you stop, you feel better.
I mean, look, how many old presidents do we still have kicking around? I mean, yeah, we got a lot of them. Look at Jimmy Carter. He's like 150. And George H.W. Bush, he's 100 and he's jumping out of airplanes. And W, he ain't ever going to die. All he does is sit around and paint and crack jokes and drink beer. Oh, he doesn't drink beer anymore. But and Bill Clinton, I mean, he got his heart fixed and he got real skinny. He's a vegan now.
He became a vegan and everything.
He became a vegan. How can somebody who is totally addicted to Big Macs become a vegan? Now that shows a strength of character. Okay, scared of dying. But it also shows I'd rather die than give up meat. Yeah, see, me too. I'm scared of dying, but
not that much.
Not that much. That's where I'd be too. I'm sorry, that's just going a little too far.
Yeah.
I'll trade a year for me to be able to eat all the great food that I love so much. Yeah, I can see doing that trade. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Actually, and a lot of other people would say you're out of your cotton-picking mind. But, for some of us, pleasure beats life itself. Oh. So, Suz.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better.
Are you?
Yeah, I think I am. I don't know what's happening to my voice today, but I am. And sorry, while we make this a personal call, I just wanted to tell this to my mom and my sister.
Okay, well, good.
I did.
Mom, she's feeling better. Yes, Mother's sitting with me. Yes.
And I did. I talked to the surgeon again yesterday. And we agreed that rather than sit around being nervous, that we'll go in and do another,
do another scan and make sure that everything's feeling right.
Right.
Good.
So I think, and I think I'm getting there. I do.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it, because as much as I love visiting you in Pittsburgh, I'd prefer to do it in the planned visit sort of thing rather than the get here, come get here.
Help! Help! Well, Mom says you.
I'm just saying, I'm learning my way around Pittsburgh, folks.
Yeah, she is. She could drive places and not get lost.
And you should have seen me driving Lynn to her show, to the Lynn Cullen's Wild Ride. Because if ever there were a wild ride, that was a wild ride. With Lynn screaming, "Get out of my way! We're gonna be late! Just Susan, just pull into that intersection." That person shouldn't be there. Get out of there, Susan. You get in between that semi and that thing. Right?
Yes. The show started at 6:30. We left at 5. We were the last ones there. I almost didn't get there in time. Who knew? My God, the traffic. My God, and people people cutting in front. People, I'm screaming, "Don't let that guy in! Did you see what he did? Don't let him in! Don't let him in!" I'm screaming and yelling and.
And I'm trying to keep my my recently almost dead sister alive in good enough shape to stand on the stage for however long she's going to stand on the stage.
Right. And then I did realize that I was wasting a lot of energy that I needed for the show. So about
the time that I threaded myself through the two cars that were gridlocking the intersection, I just drove in and around and about them, and then like a good bowel movement, we were free.
A good bowel movement. And speaking of those, they're returning too.
Oh, good.
I know.
Your bowel movements are getting more normal too, Mother. Mother's looking concerned.
Life is good. Okay, Chuck writes, what else is happening in the world? I heard you comment on your mother's travel plans. The next big story will be weather tomorrow on the biggest travel day of the year. In my world right now, I have 2 daughters in New York City who are going to try to take a megabus home to Pittsburgh tomorrow. Is there a bad storm? I haven't really been paying attention. They will board the bus when the big nor'easter, now called, they are naming nor'easters now called Kato, will hit, dumping up to 12 inches from Philadelphia to Maine. So Chuck's going to be a nervous dad.
Well, I think they should leave before the nor'easter.
Yeah.
That would just be my advice.
Yeah, but maybe, they can't. They're employed.
Well, right, at least in St. Louis, the airport is open and functioning. They did declare a hold over the airport last night because there was gunfire, but that amounted to 6 flights not making it in, and everything is normal today. And we are supposed to not have terrible, we're going to have a little warm, rain.
Yeah.
Stuff.
But I guess there is some bad weather in the east, whatever. Well, I ain't going anywhere, so I don't care. I hope your daughters get in, Chuck, alive.
Yeah, and I hope my daughter and my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson get in.
Yeah. So anyway, in other news, and this is of no interest to you, Susan, but it is big local news, and maybe I'll talk about this tomorrow. U.S. Steel has decided to build a new headquarters. There was talk of them moving out of the city, which was just unthinkable. And instead, they're going to build on where the old Civic Arena was, that old igloo, and that is land that is now owned by the Penguins. But this raises lots of questions to the person to PJ. He says, my question is, the city was doing urban redevelopment. So the property a long time ago to build the Civic Arena was taken by eminent domain 50 or 60 odd years ago. And a thriving African-American community was essentially destroyed in the process. How is it that in 2014, the Penguins now own that property? Or how is it that they have any say in its new use? Well, PJ, obviously you have not been paying attention. Don't expect me to answer that. You know how it works, eh? The Steelers own half of the north side. Don't ask me how that happens. The Penguins then own half of whatever, where their guys play. I don't understand. And then they get all these tax breaks, and U.S. Steel will get tax breaks. Although they're going to turn some of those breaks over to the people of the community that was totally destroyed 60 years ago, and which is now maybe coming alive again. God, I don't know. Nothing makes any sense. It's a plutocracy, okay? The little people get fucked. It's as simple as that. Repeatedly. Little people get fucked.
And to my increasing amazement, I don't know how I could get any more amazed, but we have somehow figured out a way to convince these same little people that it's okay to get fucked all the time, because there's a chance that they could end up as in the 0.05%.
Right, one of the 1%. And then be able to fuck other people.
So you don't want to fetter those big boys in any way, because it diminishes your own chances to become one.
Yeah, I know. Amazing. Well, I guess people like to dream. It's how you can sell religion, too. So, yeah, here's the deal. All you have to do is get through this vale of tears, and, man, there's a heaven waiting for you. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. Suffer and Do it
and
quietly.
You will be rewarded.
And you will be rewarded. And people have bought that
really
for...
the same thing. That's followed by comma, trust me.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And people must have a real need to believe, because otherwise they can't get out of bed in the morning. They have to have hope, even if it's just a fairy tale.
Yep. Increasingly a bigger and bigger one all the time.
I know. Okay, well, now that we've succeeded in depressing everybody and annoying a whole hell of a lot of other folks, I think we should...
call it a day, but I would like to say that it's nice to be speaking to my sister in a normal-ish sort of fashion, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. I am, and love to you both.
Hey, love back.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, you guys, coming up tomorrow on this very program, a little bit of a change, because Thursday's Thanksgiving, and I won't be here, and Friday, Celine isn't going to be here, so I'm not going to be here. I'm blaming you. Then Wednesday's what we got left, and Tom Sokolowski, getting to be a little bit of a media whore, I think. Tom Sokolowski is asked to come and join us tomorrow instead of Thursday when he wouldn't be here and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's happening. Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.